Afternoon guys, hopefully by now you've all eaten your afternoon tea, you've got a cuppa and probably a bit of cake on the go at the same time. Introducing the Bentley Road Baker Spring Wreath packs. Some of you guys have done the Christmas ones and your results were really brilliant. This is a slightly different format with a different ring this time. With a spring wreath you fill 2/3 or a half of the wreath and it hangs slightly differently, so it's nice to do something different if you've joined us for the Christmas one already. So in your pack today you're going to have a bag of foliage with various bits of greenery going on. You will have a wicker wreath, a bag of moss, and you'll have 2 live succulents, some corn ears, just some Easter decorations, little acorns, some ribbon, string, some dried fruits, a couple of poppy heads, these are my favourite, and some wire, and of course your snips. Handy to have some scissors on hand, guys. Sometimes the snips don't cut the wire successfully, and if you're anything like me, it makes me a bit ragey, so I'd have your scissors on hand, but these will be brilliant for everything else. Once you've got everything in front of you and ready, you are good to go. Right, so the first thing to do, guys, is all your little bits and pieces of prep. It just makes it a lot more enjoyable and a bit more streamlined and easier for you guys. So we're going to start by prepping all the individual pieces, and the first thing to do is your foliage. So the idea of your wreath, guys, is to make little small parcels or gatherings of foliage. It just makes it nice and easy to attach, gives it a nice flow. So we're going to start by doing that one. So we're going to take, let's get some space. Take your greenery. You guys have got some nice fern here, so the best way to utilise this fern is to start by stripping off the small pieces. Okay, and carry on doing those ones. And with your smaller little bits, there's all kinds of different sizes of eucalyptus going on today. You want to get a piece that's sort of approximately 4 to 6 inches long, roughly. There's no kind of art form to this, as rustic as you can is nice. So start by trimming down all your foliage. Use your snips until everything is cut and into small pieces like these. Okay guys, next we've trimmed down all the foliage, we've got everything ready. I've cut my corn ears down like this one, leave a little bit of stem onto the bottom, and I don't know if you can see here, I've popped these into some small little parcels. Okay, you can do these any way you like. It's quite nice to have the taller pieces at the back, and we're just aiming for something that looks a little bit like this. For this design, I find it works better with around 4 bundles, and then if you can keep lots of little bits and pieces spare, I'll show you why in a bit, and just set them aside. Right guys, next is the preparation of all the accessories and bits and pieces you want to put on the top. You might decide at this point bits that you don't want to use and bits that you do, or you might decide to add a bit more later. I'm going to wire up most of mine so I can pick and choose as I go. I'm just going to show you quickly how to do that. So just a few things. With the little Easter eggs, the best way to do these is literally just to snip through the end piece, and then it will separate so we can use it to tie straight onto the wreath rather than wire those. And then going from something like your poppy head, I'll just show you how to do that. And if you tip it upside down, it's got a nice soft base. When we're wiring on, keep it long, don't be shy on the wire because it's easier to wire on at the back. Okay, so that's particularly great at measurements. It's roughly 8 inches, so we're going to go with that. You can trim it down later if it's too much. So we're just literally going to post it through like that. Okay. Pull the wire around, and then we're going to put a couple of twists in it just to secure your item on, and then you're left with 2 strings at the bottom like that. And similarly, let's just show you with a bit of a citrus. Okay, just post it through the soft bit of the fruit, bring it round, 3 twists, And then you'll end up with all of your bits and pieces cut and ready to go to make it much easier for you. So everything else on hand. And with your ribbon as well, we're going to cut the length of ribbon that you've got. We're going to cut a small piece off to make a hanger for the top. And then you can keep the second half for a bow, or maybe, you know, to pop some decorative at the bottom. Or you can make a really big tie, so we'll look at both shortly. Right, so everything's prepped now. We are good to go. I've got my little bits of foliage that I'm going to need at the end of my wreaths. I've got everything that I need wired up, apart from my succulents. We'll do that at the end. And I've got my 4 parcels. So the next thing to do is we're going to moss the wreath, okay? As I said, we're just going to fill about, I'm going to fill about 2/3 of my frame. So, get your moss out. I find it easier at this point just to separate it a tiny bit into more manageable size pieces. So we're going to start by securing the wire. So literally super easy. Wrap the bottom of your wire around. Okay, I'm going to just secure it 3 times. 3 turns, 1, 2, 3, so that you're nice and secure and strong and ready to go for your first layer of moss. So really simple, no need to worry about this. It can be rustic, you can throw it on, you can't go wrong. So just pop your first couple of pieces of moss over your frame and literally just start to wrap and wire on. Pull the wire tight so it starts to disappear inside the moss. Okay, there you are. And continue round your frame. There we go. Add in as you go. It can be as little or as much moss as you like, however suits your style, and also you can add more afterwards if you don't feel like you've popped enough on. So continue round now until 2/3 of your frame is full. Right guys, when you get to the end of your mossing frame, you've got your wire. We're going to just turn it 3 times just to finish off the moss and secure the end. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to leave this wire attached for a minute, ready for us to pop our parcels on. Right, there's my frame. I've actually done about half. You can keep on going around if you need to. Okie dokie, so next up we're going to work with our parcels and start laying those on the moss frame, okay? The idea of a spring wreath is to leave, you know, one side naked and one side quite full. It's a really nice different style to Christmas if you've had those hanging on your doors. Pretty much only just took mine in about February, so I'm good for my next spring one. So there's loads of different ways of laying your foliage for this, and it really is just personal preference. And I did one yesterday, which I'll pop a picture of at the end, where we did the foliage slightly different to how I'm doing now. So what I would suggest is maybe just having a little play around with your foliage to check how you want to lay it. So for example, just lay your little parcels on to see what you feel works best. So I'm going to work like this today, okay? All going in one direction. The one I did yesterday, I did 2 going up and 2 going down. Again, you can look at the picture afterwards, but have a little play because there isn't any rules with this. It's just personal preference on how you'd like it to look. So we're going to start off by wiring our first bundle, making sure all the stems are down, okay, into your little parcels that I've just separated. Right, there we go. Okie dokie. All stems down. Top of your frame with your wire, I'm going to start from. So I'm going to cover the top of my moss, okay? I'm going to lay it on flat and I'm going to wrap around 3 times. Again, try to pass this wire around quite tightly because it really keeps it nice and secure. 2, 3. Okay, back up underneath, ready for the next layer to go on. Okay, parcel up. I'm going to lay this slightly more at an angle, like this. I'm going to get my wire, pop it down a little bit before we're ready. Don't know if you can see that, I've just put an extra loop in just before I wrap the next layer. Okay, right, we're ready. Pop on. You see I've slightly offset it from the top one. So we're going again. Okay, I'm going to do that one again, so we're going to give a little bit of an extra couple of turns, give us a bit more space. And then we can continue with the next one. Corneas. There we go, offset again. Pull this one through. And pull nice and tightly. Oh, one of my corns. There we go. 2, 3, and a little extra turn. And my last one. Okay. That's going to upset my husband's OCD because I don't have a corner for that one. I'm fine with it. Okay, when you get to the end, pull nice and tightly. Final wrap. Okay, we're going to turn the wreath over. Give yourself a bit of length to play with. We're going to snip this one. Okay, got your wire. We're just literally going to post it through the last piece of wire you've done. It's a bit fiddly. Can you see? Let me show you. One sec. There we go. Pull through to secure. Okay. Don't worry about the extra bits of wire. Leave them for now. Okay, because sometimes they're handy. So there is your first set of foliage. Next up, I'm going to decide where I'm going to pop my bits and pieces. Okay, so there's all kinds of stuff and different ways you can do that. So I have chosen to cut my ribbon into 2 pieces. So I've got a slightly shorter piece to pop onto the top. Okay, so I'm just going to feed that through like so. Okay, and I'm going to take my string. I'm just going to tie off the top just to secure it. You can neaten it off at the end. Don't worry about the bits of string hanging down right now. I'm going to pop a little bow in mine, and that will just make the hook ready to go on your door. Okay, lovely. Right, next, just a little bit of hand placement to see where we're going. You can sit and work this out yourself. I'm just going to show you what I mean. Nestle your bits and pieces on where you're happy. In terms of wiring on your succulents, the best way to do this is really gently, because they're quite fragile. These are live succulents and they're going to carry on thriving if you keep watering the moss wreath, which I'll show you how to do at the end. Just be really cautious. They are fragile because, as I said, they are alive and real. So when you're passing your wire around the base of them, please do go steady. So just like before, I'd start with a bent wire just because it's easier to thread through. Pick some sturdy parts of your succulent. Okay, start to feed the wire through. Okay, and exactly the same way as you've done your fruit and your poppy heads and everything else. Okay, we're secure. We're going to do a couple of little twists, and then those little guys will be ready to pop on. I'm just going to finish laying my stuff down until I'm happy. Have a little play around, and then you can start wiring. Right guys, on to the final bit now. We're going to start wiring your decorative bits and pieces on. I've started mine already just to give you guys an idea. So I've popped a poppy and a couple of pieces of dried fruit on and have a little peek. Just going to show you how to do that now. So you've wired everything up already because that's what we did at the beginning to make this bit nice and easy. So we're going to split the 2 pieces of wire, okay, and we're going to straddle the wreath frame and literally just twist to tie on at the back, okay? I'm just going to pop this up underneath my foliage a bit, keep it nice and tidy. Okay, so we're straddling the wreath frame, we're twisting to secure. Don't know how well you can see that there. Lovely. Good few twists. Leave the long piece at the back for now, okay, because we can trim all that up after. Okay, that one's nice and secure. Let's put a couple of extra bits of fruit on. Tuck that one up underneath. Just going to need to give it a little wiggle just to get it to squeeze through. And twist on. Okay, continue similarly now guys until all your little bits and pieces that you want are on. I've just pulled these acorns apart. You guys have got them in a set of 3 and they're already pre-wired, which is fab. Just exactly the same way as you've done the fruit, but obviously you don't have the 2 pieces, so you can just secure this either to an existing piece of wire that's already on there or post it through your wreath. So I've got a nice piece of wire here, so I'm just gonna tuck that on through. There. I've got my little bit at the back, so I'm just gonna pull that round. Okay. When you come to doing your succulents, super carefully, these are wired on, ready to go, like we showed before. Decide where you're going to pop them. Exactly the same way, just with a little bit more care. Straddle the wreath frame, back up underneath and twist. Right, so the last few bits are just tidying up your wreath. I've done all the bits I'm happy with. I'm not popping eggs on this one. I'll show you a picture of the other one we did with eggs on, because that's totally personal preference. So everything is wired on. What we're going to do now is any pieces of visible wire that you can see, we're going to aim to use those scraps that we saved from earlier just to push through, just to cover those up, okay? So it's really, really simple. Take your piece of foliage and just literally post them on through the loops of wire that you set your wreath on with earlier, okay? Just feed them on through until you're happy. Okay, with the coverage, only a couple of bits really needed on mine. Have a little look. There we go. Excuse my dog. I think one more piece. Okay, down here. How to do it. At this point, you can sit and play with it all you like until you're happy. Some people like to trim their pieces back, some people like to leave them long. I'm more of a rustic chick, so I'm just going to leave mine how it's set. Okay. Don't forget to trim this bit off the top. Okay. And we're done. Hope you've enjoyed your afternoon. Send me some pictures. Thanks, guys.